Perfect. Let's kick this off, and I hand over to Carsten because we share this keynote
Very
together.
good. Yeah, so here are our observations, our point of view, our perspective on the state of the European platform economy. It's based on our study that we conducted. It's also bringing together basically the observations, discussions that we're having on a day-to-day basis with platform leaders. So three observations. Let me kick that off. Maybe we go on the next chart. So we do have a space-related customer based out of in the headquarter based out of Paris. So I've been in Paris quite a lot recently. So and the Olympics have been taking place, and I mean now we have heard that there's a tough competition between the U.S. and China based, with regards to medals, so gold, silver, and bronze medals. So the interesting thing is if you change perspective and you basically count European Union as one entity, it's the clear winner. So it's quite interesting to see that actually Europe scores highest in the medal ranking if you take Europe as a whole. And I think that's maybe a bit, a symbol or a metaphor for what we could do, looking at the state of the platform economy, especially when it comes to B2B platforms in Europe. Having said that, let's have a quick look at what's going on in Europe. So, I would say Europe stands at a unique digital crossroads. 250 billion is what actually the European Union Commission boosts with regards to digitalization overall. That has many aspects, not only platforms, of course, but kind of the overarching goal of the European Commission is really to drive and empower businesses, people in a human-centered, in a sustainable, in a prosperous digital future. And basically three examples of what the European Commission is driving I brought here. So first, it's definitely the centerpiece, the Digital Markets Act. I think it's quite unique. If you think, many of us potentially use the narrative, we had the Web 1.0, right? Very much the idea of decentralization. Then we had Web 2.0, very much, central gatekeepers. Basically, maybe we're losing the original idea of the internet and the web as its first application, and now heading towards Web 3.0, which is once again fostering decentralization, distribution, not only in distributed ledger blockchain only, but in a broad and also from a leadership perspective. And I think here Europe is doing quite a lot, kind of really creating an equal playing field for smaller versus larger platforms so that the gatekeepers, and it follows the winner takes it all logic, as we all know, is not taking everything. So the second one is the Digital Services Act. So I think it's good. So free speech is a high value, especially in democracy. It's also important, that we prevent illegal, harmful activities online, but at the same time facilitate the scaling up of smaller platforms. And that has been traditionally rather a challenge. And I think we see a good opportunity here in the B2B space with specific domains where we tailor platforms. And last but not least, it's then the European AI Act. I would not say I'm the biggest fan of the AI Act because very much technology geared and very much risk driven. But I think, I believe in the idea of, when it comes to data sharing, when it comes to artificial intelligence, when it comes to the usage of large language models, that if we build that on an ethical and moral integrity as a principle, that I think this has a value which will pay off tremendously going forward. Potentially not always in the short term, but in the midterm. So having said that, I think if we believe in the Web 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 thing, I think we're heading potentially with what the European Union is driving there in a good direction to foster Europe in that spirit. Let's move on. Kind of where do I see opportunities for Europe? Traditionally quite a large industry base, and despite the fact that we always argue that will be cannibalized, that will be disrupted. So in my experience working with many corporates, seeing that also from an academics perspective, typically cannibalization disruption happens in a really niche segment of markets only. It's rarely, sometimes we have seen exceptions, voice over IP, for example, the telecom industry, but it's often a niche segment. So I think think there is quite a power base still to build on in Europe. Large industry players that are now extending, going beyond the core, what also Natalie will be talking about later on. We have a single market, potentially not a single market, completely seamless, we have to admit, but we're talking 70 million people, we're talking 45 countries. We always talk about diversity. It's not only about gender diversity, it's really about diversity of thoughts, of languages, of perspective. And in that regard, I would say Europe has a unique edge and a competitive edge to drive innovation, because we can bring and align and orchestrate various perspectives to drive innovation. So Green Deal is, I think, the biggest asset that we have. So Europe is very diligently driving the circular and sustainable transformation forward. And that has often a unique edge also on the business side, especially you think along the lines of circularity, where you often have service, software, anything as a service business models or outcome-based business models. So it's not only about, so it's really connecting the different transformation that we're seeing. Digital regulatory excellence, of course, GDPR was not something everyone liked at the beginning, but then in California copied it and actually made it even tighter. So I think having regulatory excellence is also an asset, also with the new regulations, which I've just shown before. And basically having that, building a fertile ground for data sharing and AI with a moral and ethical standard, I think is an asset to have. So overall, I would not say it's a perfect state, but if we think we leverage diversity, we leverage a large single market, I think for B2B platforms that have a bespoke, a customized offering for a specific domain, I think the opportunities are pretty good as long as you bring these aspects together. I would like to conclude that with a thought, your European model, emphasizing solving complex problems with what ecosystems are good for in a bespoke manner. I think it's something I really would like to highlight here through innovative solutions. If we do not focus on innovation, that will potentially not work out well, and then tailor to this multicultural and multi-regulatory environment that Europe has to bring to the table. In that sense, I would say for Europe, for innovation and for the future. And having said that, would like to hand over to Natalie. To Matthias.
Yeah, no, all good. Another aspect we have seen in the study is the rise of the triple threat platforms. What do we mean by triple threat? I don't know if you know a bit or a bit familiar with basketball. I'm a huge basketball fan and also still playing. And what we have learned from our trainers is all the time when you have the ball in your hands, you need to be in a triple threat position. So you need to be able to pass to your teammates, or you can dribble and pass by your defender, or you can shoot. So you need to be able to perform all three options at the same time. And then you are really a triple threat. If you only are able maybe to shoot, or just to dribble, or just to pass, then you become too one-dimensional. And when you are one-dimensional, then it's easier for your defenders to defend you because they know, oh, okay, he only can pass or he only can dribble. So working on your skills and working and developing your skills to becoming a triple threat, this is really, really important. And so when we conducted our study, we also wanted to analyze what are the value propositions of the platform. So what do they really provide? And a framework we used for that is the platform value stack, a framework we developed. And here's an example of Amazon. Amazon started as an online bookstore with a marketplace on top. This is the engagement layer, the marketplace, where you bring supply and demand together. But over the time, they expanded. They further invested into adjacent and additional capabilities like their recommendation engines, later on Alexa, so the intelligence stuff, so where you learn from the data of the users, put them into some kind of algorithms, AI and whatever, and provide additional value. And later on, they also invested further into infrastructure. I mean, all the people telling you platforms are great because they are asset light. But Amazon went further and also invested into logistics. I mean, they could rely on DHL, on UPS, or whatever, on all the logistics providers. But no, they also invested into their own logistics infrastructure to allow the users to have a service, something like same-day delivery. They could not promise and maybe hold up to the promise if they only rely on external partners. So Amazon continued to invest. And as you can see, they invested on multiple layers of the value stack. And we use this value stack to analyze the data, to analyze the platforms. But we not use the full stack of 5 layers, as you can see here. We only used 3 layers, and we said, okay, to make it simple and also approachable for our students to conduct and pile in the data, we said, okay, what are the most important layers? And the first one is the engagement, of course, supply, demand, bringing together, intelligence, how they learn from the data and how to use data, and also infrastructure. And interesting wise, of course, we have seen also some platforms with a single layer approach. And as you can see, single layer means they only have an offering on the engagement layer or intelligence layer or infrastructure layer. But we also have seen a lot more and more platforms with a dual layer or triple layer approach. And this is what I meant by at the beginning with becoming a triple threat platform. So really, when you continue to invest and build up capabilities, then you're becoming kind of unstoppable in the platform game. And another interesting fact, what we found out is you can approach this by a top-down approach or strategy or bottom-up. So all the marketplaces started as a pure place marketplace, they also need to continue to invest. And most of the times they invest in software and the intelligence layer second, and then go down the value stack. But on the other side, we also see a lot of incumbent companies. They realize, oh, we have a lot of assets there. Let's take as an example, Bosch. Yeah, they have a lot of hardware capabilities with sensors and stuff like that. So it's easy for them to reuse those assets, put them into a IoT platform or cloud first, building up intelligent services, and then later on open up and becoming a full open platform on the engagement layer. So it's not just I'm losing because I'm not the marketplace, but turning it around, it also helps you to understand if I have infrastructure, this is also a good starting point. I can also build it up bottom up, because later on in the all the marketplaces will also need to invest into the lower layers to become more defensible in their strategy. Natalie.
Yes, so I'm just looking at the time. I'm going to have to glide over this, so Bosch is not delayed too much, Daniel. I'm going to talk about the notion of beyond core, innovation beyond core, and how corporates approach B2B platforms. So our study, the study Matthias mentioned, showed that nearly 20% of the B2B platforms in Europe have been created by corporates. So those companies actually created new platform businesses that are adjacent to their core business. So Matthias, next, please. And indeed, this is coherent with a growing refocus that has been observed by McKinsey in a research where they found that CEOs are viewing new business building as a top 3 strategic priority, and going up from 30% of CEOs to 50% of CEOs. And to do this, corporates need to look at their own to look beyond their own digital transformation, because digital transformation has been targeted more towards their core. So they do need to look beyond. And beyond means what? It can mean adjacent, or it can mean quite disjointed and remote from the core. If we're looking at, first step being the adjacent beyond core innovation, it has several benefits, because you can lean on the assets of your core business. You can generate at the same time new revenues, new markets, or create new markets, or capture new markets. And at the same time, you can accelerate the core. And what's interesting is that you can also increase the valuation of your company, because, and again, it's the same study from McKinsey, every dollar of revenue from a new business is worth nearly $2 in enterprise value compared to $1 from the core business. So it's an interesting tool for CEOs. And we've got some examples. We've got 3 here, but there are many more. Of big corporates that have already embraced this notion of beyond. Of course, BNP with Beyond Banking, and we've got Charlotte from BNP at the end of today talking from New York. BASF with Beyond Paint Ventures, and I saw that we had Oliver on the call also, who's managing one of these ventures. And most recently, for example, IKEA launched the Life at Home platform. So their strategy is to go from beyond home to emotions. And so, there are some many more, like I said, like Beyond Energy for Schneider, etc. A lot of those corporates have already, started embracing that strategy. So yeah, for the sake of time, I'm going to stop here, trying to catch up so that Daniel is not delayed too much. And now we can start with the summit.